Hello, fellow preppers. Today we're just taking a walk and talking about random items and stuff. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, but I'll just talk for a few minutes just while I'm out and about here getting some air, taking a break. Sometimes you just realize how many different types of birds there are when you're walking around. Another reason to get out and move around your property and to get out and explore new things. Some of us don't have, a lot of us don't have any land or live in an apartment. A lot of people don't have the luxury or have not chosen to have land for whatever reason. And there might be legitimate reasons for that. There could be also reasons that may not be valid. It might be something to consider in the future to have a goal to get land, even if you don't live on the land, just a place that you can go that's yours, that you can enjoy. Ever since I've gotten my land, I've just fully enjoyed living here and being here, and just the full range of wildlife and the full range of the beauty of the trees during the seasons. And it makes it really, really fun. And just like right in front of me, I have a rabbit. See if I can get this in. I know that I'm on decided to use a different screen here, but you can't really see him, but he's right in front of me. You know, just the wildlife, they get used to you after a while, and they don't get too crazy or anything, you know. They just kind of, like this rabbit right here is scratching his ear, and you know, he gets used to you. He has his back turned toward me. Same thing with birds too. When I first got here, the birds would chirp when I walked through the woods. Now they don't. Squirrels let you get within a few feet of them, and you know, you get to a point though that you really do appreciate all the things around you, and how complicated all this really is. You know, just the amazing part of nature and how it all develops and how it all unwinds. I know this morning there was at least a half a dozen bunnies, or I call them bunnies. You can tell I'm around kids a lot. Rabbits, and those rabbits, you know, are playing tag and running around, and they must know that they're in a more safe area, because I don't think that rabbits would be coming out in the middle of a yard or even in the street and play if there was real danger. And that's not to say that there aren't predators and stuff. There definitely are, especially where I live. There's a lot of very large predators, in fact. But you know, that's just going to be, you know, that varies. Every species of animal has threats. I mean, we're a threat to some species, but there's animals that are a threat to us, you know. So, you know, like, you know, bear. Sometimes you just have to be careful depending on where you live with bear. Also with, you know, cougars. If you live in that area, those are dangerous, obviously. And, of course, snakes. So, you know, there's a lot of things that are dangerous to humans, especially when we get on a boat. That's one thing that I've never fully understood. While it is pretty fun and everything, and while I've been on boats before, to go out into deep blue water, ocean water, where there may be 1, 2, or more miles below you of just water, and you may be literally hundreds, if not thousands of miles from the nearest, you know, mainland or coast or any kind of population, to me, that's pretty risky. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't explore the world and go out and do things, but some things are a little bit more risky. You know, this just, there's more risk than necessary, especially the solo, you know, boaters. I'm not sure what you would call those, but they actually navigate by themselves, and they do sometimes those around the world trips, or at least regional trips, that they get on their boat, and sometimes they're yachts or whatever, and or small boats, and they basically travel thousands and thousands of miles on the ocean and by themselves, which is very risky. Things can happen to us, and of course, things have happened to people doing that, and people have perished. Same thing for people who try to fly over long distances by themselves. People who try to, fly around the world by skipping to continent to continent. There's a lot of risk involved. Sometimes I think that people are craving something to satisfy themselves, not just because some of them are risk takers and they have a higher tolerance for pain and for adrenaline, and they may even be addicted to adrenaline. But I think there's also this part that people are searching for something. They feel somewhat empty. They're searching for meaning, purpose. They're looking for something that fills that void, obviously. And I don't know if you can actually just find something to do that. I think it's more of a state of mind. I know for a fact that over my short life, there's not really things that you can buy to satisfy that. You might get momentary relief. You might, because you're really buying just a distraction. So let's just say, because, for the sake of this channel, you buy the best titanium canteen possibly made, the best that's available on the market in the world. And you saved up, let's just say for, it was $150 or $200 or whatever it is. And you saved up and you got it, and it's the best ever. And you even upgraded, for another $100. And you got the best made, hand-stitched canteen cover and pouch system. And I mean, this is the best. At the same time, though, what's next for you, though? After that newness and after it wears off and after you've integrated that into your norm, and that's just part of now what you own and what you use, you start seeing your desire to expand on top of that and to push forward even more. And if we didn't want to have the urge to grow as a person, then we would die, because there would be nothing to move toward and nothing to motivate us and keep us going. So it's important to know, though, that it's not stuff. There's just not stuff out there that is responsible for our happiness. It's not at all that way. In fact, what you find, it's not stuff, it's actually the actions and things that we do. We literally do through action to create our own happiness and contentment, and to drive our focus into the direction that we feel is worthy of our time. So what are some of those types of actions, you may say, that you do? And that the question is it's up to you of what your interests are. It can be just that simple. If you like to go skiing or skating, or if you like to go on a motorbike, a cross-country motorbike, if you like to do target shooting, if you like to go out and spend a weekend camping out in the rough, if you'd like to go fishing, these things are things you can do and that you have to do to get that level of satisfaction that you can't do by just thinking about it or saying or trying to say that I can go and just purchase that, because you can't purchase the feeling of being on a boat fishing for a whole weekend with your best friends and grilling out at the end of the day and enjoying the company and conversation. Those things you can't purchase that. Now, some people say, well, you can probably buy drugs to give you an elation, a feeling of euphoria or whatever. And while you may get some of those similar feelings of satisfaction, they're short term, they're artificial, it's synthetic, and that doesn't have the same emotional weight as genuine, real types of interactions and behaviors, and so what you have here, people, is the same thing goes for prepping and people who are all into this survival stuff, and obviously I am myself, so I'm not knocking it at all, but you can go too far with some of this, and you can overwhelm yourself with a lot of the nuances that are kind of not so meaningful or doesn't have that meaning that inherently that you give it, but because you're trying to fulfill a need, you may go overboard. And that's what we talked about many times in the past, people buying too much of one category when they don't have enough of other basic essentials like food and water. And so instead of buying very technical, very redundant gear that you have 30 of, and I'm guilty of some of this, like flashlights, for example. How many flashlights do you, honest to God, really need? But sometimes we have a comfort zone that's built in certain gear. And this is just what I found over the many years doing this, that some gear just has a calming effect. And even though it's short-lived, it's something that we still pursue. And instead, we might want to consider though that maybe it's our actions and things that we're not doing to create that that sensation of being satisfied, that might be the more of the answer than to go out and purchase more redundant gear. And through those behaviors is to satisfy those voids that we feel. Sometimes we feel a little empty. And it may be a social need that we're not getting met. It could be a physical need, such as not getting enough sleep, which would seem pretty obvious to many, but you'd be surprised how many people just ignore things like that. It could be that you're not challenged enough at your work and you're getting bored and unsatisfied and you're starting to pick fights with people. It may just be that you need a change of environment, So sometimes you just got to step back from everything you do, or at least some things you do, and re-examine it and just say, whoa, I'm just taking a full day this weekend to just pull back and see, am I doing what I'm doing because I want to do it, or because I'm supposed to do it, or I'm being told to do it, and I don't really want to do this because this is your life. Is this what you really want to do with your precious time? And so the more I've done that, the more it's helped me to say, oh, I actually don't want to do that activity, or I don't want to see that person, or I don't really want to even talk to that person anymore. And over here, I do want to do this though. And I do want to know this person more and get to know this person and spend more time maybe, learning this skill. And so over time though, guys, you can break things down, and just like the previous video talking about how to get organized, you can find priorities in your daily life of things that are meaningful to you, and sometimes just get overshadowed by the rut of everyday life. For a lot of us, we have to just get up in the morning and go to work. It's typically an 8 to 10 hour day for a lot of us. Sometimes 12 hours. We do that anywhere sometimes between 5 to 6 days a week. And the time that we do have for ourselves, we're trying to recuperate or trying to organize our life or trying to squeeze a little bit of fun time. But there's a lot of times, and you know what I mean, that it feels pressurized. You feel pressured to have fun. And so we go overboard. Some people may drink too much. Some people may stay up way too late on the weekend, and then they're exhausted for the first couple of days of the week. And then they have to just kind of pull through their work week, and it sucks. So, but just because, that's what you chose to do, to go to that job and do that, doesn't mean that you have to do that either. There's a lot of different ways to make money, and there's a lot of different ways to live your life. And so if you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut and you don't want to do what you're doing anymore or live the life that you have, there is nothing wrong with trying something different. And when you have kids and a family, it is more difficult. Trust me, that's a challenge. But you can do it, especially if you work with your partner and you work with the kids and you tell them that this is what's going on. And, you may make subtle changes at first. Maybe it's just the time of day you work, or maybe you change a company that you work. Maybe you still do the same type of work. But over time, though, I think that you'll be much happier when you make the changes you need and live the life you need so you can be happy. Thanks for listening.